And Grubauer's been hurt. Grubauer went down like this in the regular season.
Today I am going to show you how to come back from a groin strain as fast as possible so you can get back out on the ice ASAP. Welcome back to Goalie Training Pro TV. This is the first video in a 3-video series. You guys asked me to create a video about groin strain, and it's not just that easy. I didn't feel I could do it justice in just one video. So today we're gonna go over what to do as soon as you strain your groin in the first sort of 1 to 7 days. Video number 2 is gonna be advanced rehab techniques to help you get back on the ice. Video number 3 is gonna be techniques that you should be incorporating in your everyday training so that you don't strain your groin in the first place. If you haven't subscribed already, probably a good idea to subscribe now. If you have subscribed, hit the bell. That just gives you a notification when I post new videos, so you'll know, like, oh, okay, here's what I need to do so that I don't strain my groin. If we haven't met yet, my name's Maria Mountain. I am an exercise physiologist. I specialize in off-ice training for goalies, so I help goalies go from average to confident and consistent by giving you the right off-ice training strategies. But I also spent 5 years working as the exercise specialist in the physiotherapy department at the renowned Fowler Kennedy Sport Medicine Clinic, where I got to rehab a lot, and I mean a lot, of groin injuries. So I'm going to share some of that wisdom with you today. So what is the number one thing you should do if you have strained your groin? The number one thing you should do if you have strained your groin, the thing that is going to optimize your recovery better than anything else, is go see a good sport physiotherapist to get it assessed and get treatment based on what muscles are involved, what's the exact degree of the tear. They also have modalities they can use, so they can do some ultrasound, they can do some e-stim, just to help support that healing. So if you take my advice, do that, you can stop watching this video right now, because that is the number one thing you should do.
Commence system shutdown.
Although I know you, I've met you before, I know you, and you're not going to do that for whatever reason. So now let me walk you through the, let's say, self-care version of what to do if you've strained your groin. And as I look around, I see a lot of you are still here, so I was right. So let's go into the self-care version of what to do if you just strained your groin. Step number 1. Technically, I guess it's step number 2, isn't it? Step number 2 is answering the question, is it actually a groin strain? Because I talk to a lot of goalies, I get a lot of emails to my customer support email about how I've strained my groin. And so one of the first things I always ask is, what was the mechanism of the injury? If it is an actual muscle strain, there was some mechanism of injury. Oh, you know what? I was in my butterfly, I was sliding to my left post, but then there was a pass across, so I reached out with my right leg and I felt my groin go. Okay, that's a groin strain. If it's like, oh, nothing really happened, it just started getting sore and kind of built over time, and that isn't a strain. That is some sort of chronic overuse type injury, maybe some sort of tendinosis, something like that. It's not an actual strain. It might be that the muscle is inflamed and irritated, but not a strain. A muscle strain is, that there's been varying degrees of disruption of the tissue as a result of an acute injury. So if there wasn't a specific mechanism of injury, if this is something that's built over time, then this video isn't for you. So this video is for people who've strained their groin. Those chronic overuse type injuries, they take a little more to unravel, because it's like, okay, it's taken time for this tissue to get under enough load that now it's irritated and now it's giving you pain. We need to walk back to say, okay, why did that tissue get overloaded in the first place? What isn't working that's causing those muscles to be overloaded? And then we need to reverse engineer it to find a solution. So that'd be a different video, not today's video. So we've established that it is in fact a strain. So the next step, step number 3, is don't make it worse. Stop doing what you're doing. Don't keep playing just to see if maybe that'll make it better. Hey, I did this stretch and I felt pain in my groin and I felt my muscle tear, but I'm gonna keep playing and see if that just makes it better. It's not gonna make it better. The other thing I don't want you to do is then like come and be like, I'm gonna stretch it and see if that makes it better. That won't make it better. We're gonna try and help you grade the strain. So this isn't perfectly scientific. Don't quote me on it. This is just a little bit of a guideline. But if you can walk, and maybe just with like a little limp or maybe no limp, but it's sore, but you can still walk, that's probably a grade 1. So a grade 1 means, there's some micro tears in there, but there's no, real sort of tear or palpable tear of the tissue. It's sort of a minor strain. So yeah, you can probably still walk. It's sore if you kind of put it under stretch, but when you're at rest, it's not that bad, that kind of thing. A grade 2 means you can walk, but it's pretty uncomfortable and you definitely have a limp. It's uncomfortable in activities of daily living. That's sort of a grade 2. And that means that, okay, well now like some of the fibers, there is a tear in there. A physical therapist on assessment, you might even be able to palpate that, oh yeah, there's a defect in the muscle there. A grade 3 is a complete tear, which is a really big deal. So that doesn't happen very often. Also, if you have like a grade 2, definitely a grade 3, maybe a little bit with a grade 1. A few days after the injury, you might notice some bruising, and usually the bruising will be further down your leg. So let's say you tore your groin, and now you're noticing some bruising like just above your knee, and then that gets you thinking like, oh my gosh, maybe I did something to my knee too because my knee's all bruised. Well, that's just blood, because when the muscle gets torn, it bleeds, just like if we get a tear in our skin, it bleeds, and then as the blood degrades and breaks down, it turns all those crazy purple and green and all those colors. Gravity will take that blood down your leg. So that's why it's like, wow, it's weird because my pain's up here, but I've got this big bruise at my knee. And so again, if you have like some bruising, okay, it's probably like a severe grade 1, mild grade 2. If there's like quite a bit of bruising, then that's sort of a more severe grade 2 or even possibly a grade 3. Grade 3, like I can't walk on this. And then you're definitely going to be going to the physical therapist. You might even be going into urgent care or definitely to your family doctor to get it checked out. It's going to be that bad that you're like, okay, I have to get this looked at. So we're talking more like grade 1, moderate grade 2s for the purpose of this video. Step number 4 is just give it a day or 2. Take a little bit of rest. Don't overdo it. If you have a pair of compression shorts, you could wear those just to support it. Again, don't get in there and think, well, I just need to stretch it out. It's like if you have a cut in your skin and you're like, I'm just going to rub it. Well, that's going to disrupt the scab that's trying to form and probably make it bigger and probably make it bleed more, and then it takes longer to heal. So mismanagement in the first few days is something that can really prolong your recovery. And I know it's hard because you want to do something to make it better, but sometimes it's like, hey, let's just let my body take care of this. Let's let my body take care of this initial injury, and then I can start chipping in with a little bit of help. Because the last thing we want to do is prolong your recovery, and some of you have probably had that experience. Probably most of you have at some point tweaked or strained your groin. Drop a comment below just to let me know how long it took you to get back on the ice and feeling really good again. Okay, step number 5. So now we're a day or 2 after the initial injury. We finally get to do something to help ourselves. We're going to start with some very gentle self-myofascial release. I would prefer, that in my programs we use the lacrosse ball a lot because it gets in there. It's more pressure per square inch. That's what we want. In this case, my preference is for you to use something that has more surface area, that has less pressure per square inch. So I would like you to use a foam roll if you have one. Let me show you how we would use it in that first sort of 2 days after an acute groin strain. We're going to start with some gentle self-myofascial release or gentle self-massage. The key word is gentle. So I know some of you get in there and you're like, oh, but it hurts so good. But again, your body's trying to heal, to scar, to remodel. And if you get in there and start irritating that new tissue, you're just going to break it apart again and cause even more irritation and inflammation and prolong the recovery. So we're going to go nice and easy, nice and gentle. If it's like a little bit uncomfortable, kind of like if you push a bit on a bruise, well, that's to be expected. But if it's painful or, again, it's pretty uncomfortable, then it's too much and it's too early. Just stop and try again tomorrow. So there's nothing fancy, nothing magic about it. We're just gonna get on those adductors, go nice and slow. And I can even, use my external rotators to sort of take some of the pressure off. If it feels a little bit too tender, I can just take some pressure off and see if I can find a comfortable position. And don't just go over top the sore area, go above and below it as well. And I would do that for, about a minute and then let it recover. Maybe do a minute 4, 5, 6 times throughout the course of the day in the beginning. You could also get in and just do a little bit of self-massage. So, get a little bit of hand lotion on and just wherever you feel that strain, not giving a whole lot of pressure and just kind of letting your thumb glide along at its own pace over the area. What we're trying to do with that is maybe stimulate a little more blood flow, but also just kind of give the tissue, a little bit of stimulus. As the new tissue gets laid down, your body kind of can sense the line of pull on the muscle. Well, if we just rest and do nothing and don't put any sort of force through the muscle or tension through the muscle, that input isn't there. It's like, okay, this muscle doesn't really do anything. So you could get kind of a knotted mess of a scar. And typically, if you've torn a muscle, say you torn your groin, and then you re-tear it, it's probably going to be, well, what feels like the exact same spot. It isn't the exact same spot because there's a knotted mess there that's very, very strong. But you probably tore the tissue either immediately above or immediately below, so directly adjacent to that scar tissue. So what we want to do is very gently, without disrupting the tissue, give it an idea of like, this is how we want you to, this is what we need to do, rather than let's just make a knotted mess. So at this stage too, we could add a little bit of very gentle stretching. So stretching that doesn't increase your pain level at all. And I think just a bilateral kneeling groin stretch is a good one to start with, because you can really grade the force. So, don't sort of jump into what your normal kneeling groin stretch position is. Start with your knees a little bit closer and then just give a little rock back until you feel some tension but no pain in that area. And then just hold that for about 15 seconds, come out of it again, rock back, hold that for about 15 seconds, and do that 4 to 6 times. And again, you could do that throughout the day, just to give those little micro doses. We don't want to kind of blast the area, but little micro dosing is fine. You've worked on that for a couple days. Now we're, say, 3 to 4 days post-injury. Now would be the time to add in a little bit more dynamic stretching. We're going to go off our bilateral kneeling groin stretch. We're going to go to a half kneeling groin stretch with a rock back, but also a half kneeling groin stretch with a rotation. So we get in my half kneeling groin position. It's hard because you're used to like, oh, this is where I go to, but that might be a little bit too much for your tissue right now. So make sure you choke up a little bit. Don't go as far, even in this position, I almost don't want you to feel any stretch at all. And then you can just add in that gentle rock back and come forward. Gentle rock back and come forward. And as you go back, you'll feel more tightness in your adductors, but don't go to the point of pain. So again, we're not interested in how far you can go. Pushing it at this stage isn't gonna help. It's gonna slow your progression. So we're just trying to kind of gently coax it, teach our tissue, okay, this is all right, we're good here. And we would do about 10 to 15 of those in a set. And this is the side that I've tweaked, so it will be the straight leg. Another thing that we can do from this position is add a little bit of rotation. So now I'm in my half groin position, and I'm going to just rotate my torso around and reach, just to put a different kind of stress through that adductor. As it's remodeling, we're trying to give it some signals of, hey, these are things that we need you to be able to do. So I might hold this for 15 seconds. I might reach away for 15 seconds. And again, microdosing those throughout the day. Things are progressing along great. Now you can walk without pain. You can walk without a limp. You still feel it if you put it on a stretch. It's still there for sure, but just in terms of walking around, it's feeling much, much better. Then we're gonna start some light isometrics, and we're gonna use a foam roll again. So remember, isometrics are contractions where there's no overall change of length in the muscle. And so we're gonna use foam roll, and we're gonna do a 3-way groin squeeze with this. But those of you who do my training programs, you will have seen 3-way groin squeeze, and you'll know, like, oh, I know what to do. Like, I crush it. No, we're not doing that. This is rehab exercise, so it's just a very gentle push. There shouldn't be any pain. It's just turning on those muscles. If I had to say a percentage, I would say sort of 20 to 30% of your maximum contraction force. And we're just gonna squeeze for about 3 seconds. We'll do 5 in each position. So I just have foam roll between my knees. The 3 positions are with my knees sort of up as high as my belly button. So I'm gonna gently squeeze 1, 2, 3, relax. Squeeze, 2, 3, relax. So I'm just pushing my knees into the foam roll. Then I'll come so that my knees are kind of directly over my hips. I'll squeeze 3 seconds, and I'll do 5 in each position. So relax, squeeze for 3 seconds, relax. I would do 5 like that. And then when you bring this down, sort of support your legs, support that foam roll as you bring your feet down to the floor. And then you're gonna squeeze again. 1, 2, 3, relax. Squeeze, 2, 3, relax, and you'll do 5 in that position. So you'll start at 5 in each position for a 3-second push, build up to do 10 in each position for a 3-second push over the course of the next week. Finally, this might be step 8, maybe, step 4,000, but when the self-myofascial release isn't giving you pain. Again, like maybe you feel, oh yeah, I kind of feel it, but it's not uncomfortable, it's not painful. When you can do these isometrics and it's not giving you pain, and you can build a little bit more force, then we're gonna do some outer range isometrics. So, you can use the foam roll and just turn it sideways. Not if you have one that's like 1 meter long, that's gonna be a little bit too long. But if you have one that's this length or shorter, or like you can do anything. You can even just use your hands to brace against. But we can do the same thing. So with the knees high, push 1, 2, 3, relax. I would do 5 in that position. Come here, 1, 2, 3, relax for 5, and then come down, go 1, 2, 3, relax. And even a progression from here would be to start narrow, but with your legs straight, pushing, and that with the foam roll at your knees, and then you could go to your wide stance, pushing in that. So it's just before we're like making those adductors work, when they're sort of in like a neutral shortened position, and then we're making them contract when they're in a little bit more of a lengthened position. So it's going to give a little bit more challenge to the muscle. But remember, every time you take a step up, you need to grade back how hard you contract, because it's very different to do it with the, the diameter of the foam roll and squeeze. And then when we lengthen the muscle, we don't want to squeeze with that same force because there's going to be a lot more load. So just start back easy, maybe 20%, 30% of your max. There shouldn't be any pain. Starting with 5 times 3 seconds, building up to 10 times 3 seconds. So those are the strategies and techniques to help you come back from a groin strain as quickly as possible. Remember, those are just what to do in the immediate aftermath, the first sort of 1 to 7 days. Next week, I'm going to come back and hit you with the advanced rehab strategies and techniques. But for now, step number 1 is get it checked out by a physio. Step number 2 is don't make it worse. Stop doing what you're doing. Step number 3, give it a little bit of time to rest. Maybe like a day, maybe 2. Step number 4, hit it with some gentle self-myofascial release, some gentle static stretching. Step number 4, add in some isometrics, and then we sort of graded them. We talked about doing more neutral range isometrics and then building into more outer range isometrics. Oh, and in there was adding in a little bit of dynamic stretching as well. I guess really when we think about it, the very best strategy is to take the simple steps off the ice to prepare for the demands of being a goalie so that you don't end up getting injured in the first place, or you dramatically reduce your risks of getting injured in the first place. If you're looking for a good place to start, the simplest place to start that takes the least amount of effort and work is the butterfly challenge. So I'll drop a link in the comments below so you can get that. It's free. So it just really unlocks your hips and gets them working much better, feeling much better on the ice. So you actually will stop more pucks, but it also help reduce your risk of groin injury. If you like this video, then here's an idea, hit like. Let me know, because that tells me too what types of content that you really like, and it motivates me to make more like that. But if you have other topics or other ideas, you're like, I wish Maria would make a video on, drop it in the comments below, because I read every single comment. I reply to every single comment. So it'll give me an idea, and I might be like, oh, that's a good one, and I'll jot it down in my little notebook for next time, or not next time, but another time, because next time, I think next week I actually have a different topic about customizing your pads, but then the week after that I'll be back with video number 2 of the advanced rehab techniques. Video number 3 in this series is going to be what are the exercises you can do so that ideally you don't tear your groin in the first place, or you reduce your risk of re-tearing your groin. If you missed last week's video, it was a barn burner. You guys loved it. It was actually one of the most popular videos in the first 24 hours, but I did a review of my CCM Access 1.9 pads that I picked up and kind of compared them to my Warrior GT2s, to let you know what I liked, what I didn't like. It's nice too because they're a second price point pad, so they're a lot cheaper than the pro level pads, and I'll tell you how they performed compared to my pro level Warriors. And I will catch you next time.